Welcome to The Explainer. So today we are taking a truly fascinating journey through a unique source text that starts somewhere you probably wouldn't expect, modifying martial arts for seniors. But trust me, it does not stop there. We're going to unpack how a simple rethinking of senior Taekwondo spirals outward into this massive exploration of spiritual energy, the fundamental structure of society, and ultimately a global quantum energy-driven turning point predicted for the exact year 2026. It is a profound, totally mind-bending progression.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp the source material, you kind of have to think of these concepts like a Russian doll. We're unpacking them one by one, starting right at the center with the physical body and then expanding all the way out to the energy of the universe. We'll start with the physical foundation, move on to the societal transformation, hit the quantum core, look at awakening the Hongik Ingan, and finally, 2026, the global turning point.
So, Part 1, the physical foundation, redefining senior Taekwondo.
The source material begins with a very practical problem. Traditional Taekwondo, with the high kicks and rapid movements, it just doesn't fit seniors, whose bodies have stiffened up over decades of hard work. So the text completely flips our understanding of martial arts. This isn't about fast kicks or sparring to win a match. Step 1 is simply sitting with perfect posture to literally unfreeze those locked joints. Step 2 focuses heavily on breathing to manage your internal energy, or Ji. And Step 3 is performing slow, seated pumsa. Those are the foundational forms, entirely without physical strain. It's all about seated meditation and physical unfreezing, really preparing the body for something much, much larger.
Moving on to Part 2, the societal transformation, Noin versus Eoreun.
Once that physical body is unthawed, the source points out a pretty major flaw in how we treat the aging population today. Right now, senior centers basically just gather older people in a room without providing any real education or higher purpose. The text draws this incredibly stark contrast between two very different paths of aging. On one side, we have the Noin, translated simply as an old person, who's just aging biologically. The text likens this to merely existing, just taking up space without a societal purpose. But on the flip side, we have the Eoreun, the true elder. This is someone who claims their right as a divine, guiding force. And Eoreun is a spiritual leader who maintains order and acts for the broad benefit of humanity. And this brilliantly illustrates the core idea here, that seated Taekwondo practice, it's the physical preparation required to transition from just being a Noin to becoming a true elder.
To actually make that transition, though, you have to master Ji. Ji is your vital energy, your life force. The source emphasizes that managing and circulating this energy during that modified, seated Taekwondo practice is absolutely essential. Why? Well, because you simply cannot perform higher spiritual tasks if your body's energy is cold and stagnant. Controlling this Ji is the fundamental prerequisite for the true elder's ultimate societal function, which is speaking words of power.
Which brings us to a really critical question. We talk all the time about elders giving advice, right? But the source means something much more literal and powerful here. How do the words of an elder actually change society? I want you to just consider the invisible weight of an elder's guidance for a second, because we are about to move into the absolute most mind-bending layer of the source material.
Part 3. The Quantum Core, the Power of Honorable Speech.
Here, the text introduces the concept that a true elder's words are not just, sound waves vibrating in the air. They are a physical, measurable force that directly shapes the world around us. It calls this malsium, or honorable speech, delivered by these prepared, energized, true elders. Directing this speech outward provides crucial guidance in order to descendants in younger generations, and speaking it upward acts as a direct appeal or prayer to the heavens. The source paints this really vivid picture of elders sitting perfectly postured on the grass, releasing an energy through these honorable words that literally permeates and orders the chaos of society.
So, the crucial point is this. According to the text, these spoken words actually function as high-grade quantum energy. The author asserts that human speech, specifically from a refined elder, is literally the highest form of power in the material world. When an elder speaks these mantras, that quantum energy superimposes itself directly onto the foundational energy of the universe, creating real, tangible change in the fabric of reality. Crazy, right? To ground this highly abstract concept, the source uses a great modern analogy: battery charging. Think about traditional electronic battery charging, which uses the natural, lower-level forces we rely on today. It takes hours of intensive effort for a standard range, let's say roughly 500 kilometers. But quantum energy charging, powered by the kind of energy generated by these elders, operates on an entirely different plane. It would take only 1 to 3 minutes to charge, yielding a massive, incredibly efficient range of up to 5,000 kilometers. This analogy brilliantly demonstrates the staggering efficiency and power of this new quantum paradigm the text says we are entering.
Which takes us to part 4, awakening the Hongik Ingan.
So, if this quantum power is going to define our future, who exactly is going to be leading us into this new era of human development? The source identifies these leaders as the Hongik Ingan. These are individuals who live and act fundamentally for the broad benefit of all humanity, completely casting aside purely personal gain. As what the text calls social parents, they are meant to embrace and guide all levels of society, helping everyone from lost youth to those purposeless seniors transform into true elders.
And what drives these leaders and true elders? It all boils down to this single, profound quote from the text. What must I do for my neighbors, society, and humanity? The source states that this is the ultimate, lifelong mantra. It's this exact phrase, repeated internally and spoken outwardly during their seated Taekwondo practice, that actually generates the highly refined quantum energy necessary to shift the world.
And finally, Part 5, 2026, the global turning point.
We've scaled up from the physical body of a senior, to societal roles, to quantum speech. Let's move to and see how this builds into the timeline. The source claims that pre-2026 was a transitional, struggling phase where humanity relied solely on basic electronic and natural forces. But the year 2026 is marked as the exact inflection point, where upper-level quantum energy, harnessed through the minds and speech of true elders and leaders, becomes directly accessible to us. Moving into 2027 and beyond, the text predicts a drastically different, highly advanced global society driven seamlessly by Hongik Ingan leadership.
The mathematical claims the source makes about this shift are honestly astounding. Look at the traditional global competition model. A major technological advancement might take 10 to 15 years, cost 30 trillion, and result in high societal exhaustion and failure rates. But if development is guided by the quantum energy and wisdom of Hongik Ingan leaders, the source claims the time required collapses to just 3 years. The financial investment drops to less than 1 trillion, with rapid, guaranteed success. By tapping into this higher energy frequency, humanity basically skips the agonizing trial and error phase of development altogether.
There is a stark warning attached to this timeline, however. The source text explicitly states that South Korea's Hongik Ingan leaders must step up to guide this global advancement. There is a deep, deep sense of urgency here. If these specific leaders do not manage this massive quantum transition, the text warns that global society will descend into agonizing chaos, wasting decades of time and trillions of dollars fighting against the natural flow of this new energy. We've covered some truly incredible ground today in The Explainer, tracing a path from seated martial arts all the way to the energetic destiny of the planet. And so we leave you with this final thought derived from the source. As we step into this new era, will our elders merely fade as biological old people? Or will they, through the power of their honorable speech and energy, rise as the quantum architects of our future? It challenges us all to look at the aging population and the power of our very own words in a completely new cosmic light. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring.